Let's talk about a memo here that is a topic that, listen, we have talked a lot about the prize picks and underdogs of the world, but there are other places out there that are operating without full gaming licenses and whatnot. And so the AGA put out a memo kind of addressing that a little bit.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting that the American Gaming Association has been circulating a memo that is asking regulators to take a closer look at the sweepstakes model of casino and gaming. And if you're listening to this podcast, chances are I don't need to explain sweeps to you. You understand pretty well what we're talking about with sweeps. Largely, we're talking about these models where you see it in casino, you see it in sports betting to a degree, in which it is able to operate in a gray area of regulation. And the American Gaming Association, of course, represents not only some land-based casinos, but also some of the online operators as well. And so the language in the AGA's memo talked about asking regulators to look because, quote, it could be potentially skirting laws and regulations via the sweepstakes model, end quote, in there. Look, anybody, again, who is listening to this podcast, chances are, if you're this deep into the industry that you listen to these two jabronis here talk every week about what the gaming space looks like, you probably have either an interest in sweeps or an investment in sweeps or some sort of other means of being interested in what goes on in sweeps. Same for our parent company. It's not anything that that I'm telling tales out of school about here. It will be very interesting to watch to see whether state regulators pick up any farther on this. Really, we haven't seen a lot of regulatory action in this space before. We saw previously Michigan take action against 3 sweeps model operators, and essentially it was just a cease and desist to stop operating within the state of Michigan. Haven't seen a lot of follow-up on that as yet. We are hearing some rumblings that other states could take a closer look at it, but as of right now, more just interesting to see that the AGA is asking regulators to pay attention to the issue.
Yeah, speaking of C&Ds, another one that kind of came through here about an hour before we started recording on the podcast here, Adam, yet another state has sent something to Bovada for them to quit operating in their state. So Ohio now no longer taking action. Bovada no longer taking action from people in the state of Ohio. That now makes 11 different states that are no longer inside the Bovada umbrella, if you will. Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Maryland, Delaware, Michigan, Colorado, West Virginia, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., and now Ohio added to that list. And, it's imagined, as we've seen in the past here, Adam, we have seen a lot of states and they see other states doing things and they go, well, hey, why aren't we doing that? And then they start to go and then they want to do it. I wonder just how many, whenever we're doing this podcast, 6 months from now, have decided to go ahead and do the same thing and follow these 11 states that have already done this.
Very interesting to see, especially when it comes to Bovada. And I'm going to give sort of the legal disclaimer here for the LSR podcast. We are not saying that Bovada and offshore sportsbooks are the same as when we talk about cease and desist.
Correct.
When it comes to sweeps, they are completely separate issues that are not coming from the same place. But when it comes to Bovada in particular, Matt, what I find interesting about this is that adds Ohio to New York, and you start to get toward closer to critical mass when it comes to the states that really matter to the offshores. We haven't seen it yet, California, Texas, etc. But of course, those are the ones where you start to wonder, will this be something that reaches more of a tipping point? It also is, as you've mentioned in the past, just Bovada, known as more of a rec book, as opposed to some of the larger ones that also are known to take action from inside the United States from some of the sharper players. So we will keep very close eyes on this moving forward when it comes to the offshore sportsbook industry.